What if I was to say that Diogo Dalot was one of Manchester United's most misunderstood players? Depending on who you ask, he's either a modern fullback who's slowly become reliable, or he's a defensive liability who hasn't convinced anyone despite being at the club since 2018. And in today's video, I want to break it all down. The good, the bad, and the most frustrating of Diogo Dalot's skill set at Man United. As always, guys, drop a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get into it. And let's start with the positives, because Dalot does bring a lot to this United team. And there's a reason why every United manager has continued to play him regularly. In a squad that's constantly dealt with injuries, Dalot is almost always fit. He's dependable, he can play through tough periods and across multiple systems across multiple seasons. We've seen him play at right back, at left back, on both sides as a wing back as well. And we've also seen him tuck into that back three sometimes. And it's that flexibility that's made him a go-to option under different managers, especially when our squad is stretched a little bit thin. And now talking about his on-the-ball ability, because Dalot is comfortable in possession. He can carry the ball very well, but also he receives the ball really well under pressure as well. So in build-up, he's been asked to do a lot across different systems under different managers. He really has been very dependable in that area for United for quite some time now. His passing accuracy remains strong, around sort of 82 to 86% across multiple seasons now, and he's also become one of our more progressive passers. We saw that under Ten Hag, and it's continued now in that fashion ever since. And more recently under Carrick, we've seen Dalot play high and wide in the 3-2-5. When we had the ball up against City and Arsenal, he was occupying that position. But then up against Fulham then, he was dropping a bit deeper, tucking into that back three in the 3-2-5, allowing Shaw to venture further forward on the left, allowing then Cunha to tuck inside, as we know he doesn't like to stay on the touchline. He's shown that tactically he's grown, his positioning further forward has improved, he's been coached on whether to invert or hold the width depending on the system. We saw in the Ten Hag days in a few games that he was even asked to invert into midfield sometimes, and it did work quite well. I do remember a lot of people asking afterwards why we don't use him in that position a bit more often. Overall, he's shown he's a player that's willing to learn and adapt, and it's why most United managers have loved him. Now though, this is where the criticism comes in, and some of it is fair. The biggest issue with Dalot is going to be his defensive consistency. He can switch off, he can lose his man at the back post, and against elite wingers 1v1, sometimes he doesn't know whether to press, whether to hold his position, or track the run, and it's that hesitation that can get punished up against the elites of the Premier League. Now, there's a couple of examples from the Nottingham Forest game earlier on in the season of these defensive lapses from Diogo Dalot. As the cross comes in here, this leads up to Nottingham Forest's second goal in this game. United in a decent position, Dalot in a decent position as well. The cross comes in, United don't immediately deal with it, but Dalot is just on his heels, gets beaten to the second ball by the Nottingham Forest player. He has an easy tap in, where Dalot could have easily prevented this situation from happening. And there was another instance in the first half of this game where I was super frustrated with Dalot. Because Dalot, as the fullback goes to make the run, not a particularly quick fullback from Nottingham Forest, he's making the run beyond Diogo Dalot, but Dalot's intention is to just palm it off. He's asking Luke Shaw to do the job of tracking him. As the ball goes over the top then, Luke Shaw and Dalot in the same sort of position. You've got a bit of cover from De Ligt as well. But look who gets into that box first. It's not Diogo Dalot, it's Luke Shaw. The injury-prone guy who can't run, Luke Shaw. And he just has a little bit more intent, and that's the frustrating thing with me from Dalot. Yes, sometimes he can do the high fives and has the defensive intensity. Then in other games, other situations then, he gets found a little bit missing, like this one. And it's very frustrating. And then the Fulham game even more recently perfectly summed up Diogo Dalot. His progression in that game was absolutely top, and most of his defending was good, except for momentary lapses of concentration that could have cost us even more in this game. This is the prime example of it. As Iwobi has the ball, Diogo Dalot, his man is there out wide. Yes, he's in a decent position, but he should be checking his shoulder, and he simply just isn't doing it. As Iwobi sets up to cross that ball in, I think it's Chukwueze out on the left-hand side, he's looking for Iwobi to play that ball in. And Dalot, again, on his heels, doesn't know what's behind him. Chukwueze ends up ghosting him behind him. United are just lucky that Martinez was in a very good position, I think it was, to clear the ball in this instance. But Dalot, again, just nowhere to really be seen. And then Ahmad, you've got you sort of looking at him, and him and Ahmad looking at each other going, well, what happened there? But it was Dalot's man and he simply didn't do good enough defensively in that instance. To go along with the concentration issues, his 1v1 defending has always been hit or miss. On a good day, he can use his strength and pace well. But on a bad day, he can dive into challenges and sometimes just get caught flat-footed. And it's that inconsistency that is why fans don't really trust him in certain big games. My mind goes to games like the Carabao Cup final, where he had to be taken off as Alan St. Maximin was giving him such a hard time. And he's had very tough games up against the likes of Doku in the past, although he did do much better at handling him in the most recent game at Old Trafford. That's if you don't count the horror tackle that he got very, very lucky with. And it's not just defensively where Dalot has certain issues, he also has issues in the final third as well. Dalot often gets into great positions, but then he often picks the wrong option or just makes a sloppy error. A cross when he should cut it back, a shot when someone's free. It's all well and good getting into these good positions, but how many times have we seen Dalot squander good chances in the final third? And all of these different moments add up, especially in a team that's struggled for goals in recent seasons. And here's the key thing with Diogo Dalot. He's not terrible. He's not world class. He's just sort of good. And that's the problem for Manchester United. Dalot is a solid Premier League fullback, but if United want to challenge at the very top against the likes of City and Arsenal and the elites across Europe, you need someone who's consistently going to shut down their flank on both sides of the pitch. And does Dalot give you that? I don't think so. Right now, it feels like Dalot is a starter by default rather than just by dominance. That doesn't mean that he can't be a useful player. In future years, if United decide to keep hold of him, I still think he can do a very decent job, especially as a squad player, playing certain games, rotating and covering multiple different positions. But if he could only cut out the bozo moments, then I think he could go right to the very top. But at being 26 years of age now, can he really do that? Or does he really have the time? So that's Diogo Dalot at Manchester United. A hard-working, versatile, technically capable fullback who's also plagued by inconsistency, defensive lapses, and he does have some big game doubts. So the question is maybe not, is Diogo Dalot good enough? It's rather good enough for what version of Manchester United? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if Dalot is underrated, overrated, or exactly where he should be right at this moment in time. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here. I'll catch you in the next one.